So nice to have you along here today. Happy Friday. Welcome to the show that I call Here and There. My name is Anwar and I'll be your host. For those who may be new, this is something we do each and every Friday at 1 o'clock. We stream live and we explore these wonderful spaces, communities, and tell some awesome stories. Welcome officially to one of the country's fastest growing communities. We are live here in Milton, Ontario. We're at Livingston Park, but there are actually 3 parks that are interconnected here through a number of trails. So I'm happy to share some of that with you today, plus the cool history here. You know, one of the greatest Canadian inventions was born right here. So I'll show you the house where the inventor lived in, which is really kissing the shores of this pond. Plus, we'll of course have your full weekend forecast and look beyond. It is going to be an unsettled week, and we'll have a brand new AKQ, the Anwar Night Query. In fact, today is not only our 18th episode, but it's also officially Collector Car Appreciation Day. This is an annual event to raise awareness for the vital role that automotive restoration and collection plays in society. And I know we have a number of viewers that are avid car collectors, but it gets me into what our AKQ is today, and I'll tell you that in just a moment. But I wanted to share this with you because I'm positive this particular car will be a collector. Did you see the flying car? This is really quite something. Just became the world's first flying car to travel between 2 airports in Slovakia, so from Nitra to Bratislava. So take a look at the video. I thought this was very cool, almost something out of a James Bond film. And this was put together by Klein Vision. So it's known as the Air Car. And the video, I mean, when I first saw it, I almost thought a little bit of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the movie there. But it was 2 decades in the making, cost about 2 million euros, and reaches a cruising speed of 170 kilometers an hour, altitude of about 8,200 feet, fuel economy that would allow it to maintain its trajectory for 1,000 kilometers. I mean, this is amazing. And once you arrived at your destination, oh yeah, you just push a button, and like a transformer, the wings fold up, and just over 2 minutes it becomes a roadworthy vehicle, and you're on your way. It has a 160 horsepower gas-powered BMW engine, seats 2, has a convertible. And experts say that the flying car market in the next 20 years will likely be over $1 trillion. So if you want a stock tip, Vern, I'm talking to you. If you want to invest in flying cars, that might be something to do. I was interested to know that Hyundai, also Toyota and VW, all looking into that, about maybe expanding their portfolio into flying cars. But it gets me to the AKQ, not the flying car itself, but what was your very first car? Do you remember your first car? And what was your, the favorite part of it? What did you love most about that car? For me, I'm thinking it was the Volkswagen Jetta. And it had the crank sunroof, not power, but a Blaupausen stereo. And I thought, man, I was king of the road. Man, did I love that car. So that was my very first one. And, it's interesting as we look at the history here at Livingston Park. There is, in fact, indirectly some automotive history into the town itself, and we'll talk about that. But firstly, before we connect with you, Mill Pond, very enchanting. Very nice, very cozy, and not only do families of today acknowledge that, but going back into the 1900s, they certainly did too. In fact, as we sort of skip over a little bit, just over to my right, there was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Livingston. He saw this pond and he said, I gotta be here, so he bought this house. And this house, is, he moved in 1908. It's now known as the Sprout House. But it's 191 Margaret Street, and he loved that it sat on the edge of the pond and the surrounding parkland. And Livingston was, in fact, a very aggressive promoter. So he saw this as a real business opportunity. He thought, now you have to remember, 1900s, not a lot going on, but he's got this magical little park. So what he did is he built a bandstand, refreshment stands where he served popcorn and drinks, and then he put canoes in the pond. and he made it into a business. He had Sunday schools come, hundreds of kids every Sunday, and they would come for a day here at this park, and he made lots of money. So it's interesting, you know, I mean, now, of course, it's a public space so everybody can enjoy it, no fees required, but it's interesting back in the 1900s, you know, the entrepreneurship. You see that, I wonder if I can make some money out of it. Now, it didn't last too long. He died in 1913, and then several years after that, another gentleman moved in here into this very house. And it's really a striking home. It's a historical home that's now privately owned. But Peter L. Robertson moved in this a few years later. You may or may not know that name, but he forever changed the tool industry. And you see, he invented these. Let's see if I can hold that for you. You see, he was a traveling tool salesman. And as the story goes, he was in Montreal trying to sell the slot screwdriver. And the slot screwdriver, you know, just the traditional one, he was showing it, and it slipped, and it gouged his hand. And he said, man, I got to come up with a better solution here. So he invented these. He is the guy that officially patented the Robertson socket head screw. So I'll show you a couple of images. You can see what he looked like and the screw we're talking about. Now, if you do some handyman work, handywoman work, you will know these are a favorite screw because they really do, just the way the idea of the head of the screwdriver, it falls in there and locks in place. It's very easy to ratchet. But it was really interesting. So he lived in here. He convinced the town of Milton to give him a tax-free loan that he would start this plant, this Robertson screw plant here in the town of Milton. So what was interesting, and by the way, the building still stands on Bronte Street. I'll show you that image as well, although it's no longer in production per se, but it still stands there. But what was interesting is that when we talk about the automotive history, he was contacted by the Windsor Ford plant in southwestern Ontario, and they said, we love the idea of the screw. So they said, we want to incorporate it into our assembly line. And it was so successful, just the way the mechanism of being able to put it in, it would save them on average about $2.50 on a car. Now, that is quite significant. I would gather, even in today's standards, when you're manufacturing a car, if you could save a couple of bucks, but this is back in the 1900s. So that was a third of his sales for Robertson. And then Ford said, you know what? We want to expand the use of your screw. We want to do it at all our plants across America. And that's where Robertson got his sort of back against the wall, because Ford said, we'll pay you for the screw, but don't worry about the manufacturing in terms of the specs. We'll take care of that. We'll find somebody who can make it for us, but you'll get the money. And Robertson said, no, you're not touching the integrity of the screw. And that may have been, some would argue, but maybe his downfall, because of that, although it is widely used around the world, it was really used for decades in Canada only before it started to move into America, and likely because of that reason. Because the Ford plants weren't using it and it wasn't as embraced. In fact, they went over to the Phillips screw, you know, the cross, you know what I'm talking about, right? The Phillips screw. But isn't that a fascinating story? So the guy who invented that lived in that house. And it was listed by the CBC as one of the greatest Canadian inventions in the top 50. And that was Peter L. Robertson, who made the square head screw. And that is a part of the history here in Milton. So very cool stuff. Now, we're going to walk through here. I'll just let you know, we are getting into some really dense bush. If the signal drops, I don't anticipate it will. We'll come right back. Just make sure you refresh your page on Facebook, and that'll take you to the new window. But I don't anticipate we're going to lose that. But let's connect with you as we get into the AKQ, and let's see what's going on here. So I'm going to turn this down. So Barbara's joining us, Tammy is watching, Lois, also Giselle. Okay, Giselle said we had a bit of a frozen screen, so we're going to slow it down. And Catherine says great stuff. She's watching us from Toronto. Oh, Penelope says the red Robbie, most common size. I got to be honest. Vern is the oldest of the crew here. and he would go back into the horse cart days. Do you know the red Robbie vehicle? I'm not familiar with that. Brenda Sims says her first car was a bright red 1969 Pontiac Beaumont. Loved it. Oh, wow. Victoria says was a Volkswagen Bug. Had to learn to drive stick shift. Isn't that something? You know, I am still, in my whole family, and we're talking my brother, my sister, my parents, I'm the only one who learned stick. And I loved driving stick. Now, once I had kids, I got rid of my stick, and now we're, you know, I won't say a minivan. My wife said, no, we're not doing a minivan. But I've got like a CRV, and everything is automatic and that sort of thing. But Bev is joining us from Port Hope. Rico is joining us. Datsun 510 with fiberglass fenders. Wow. Yeah, no kidding, eh? Barb is joining us. And oh, I see. My apologies. Penelope's not talking about when she said the Robbie Red. She's saying the screwdriver. I'm sorry, Penelope. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. What is this? Judy is watching. Lori Christmas is joining us. First car was a Honda Civic hatchback stick. You know, I had a Honda too. I had it for years, and I sold it. I think I had 104,000 kilometers on it. And the guy who bought it, he was buying it for his daughter. And he was looking at it, and he said, you see the car out there? He came in another Honda, and it looked like it had bodywork. He said 275,000 on it. Wow. He says, these cars don't die. So he bought it right there for his daughter, and obviously he was a mechanic too, but he said they don't die. Now, that's not an endorsement. I'm just saying for personal thing. But Honda Civic, yeah, I love that. Hatchback stick, wow. Also, Dina is joining us. Dina and Edna. Ron Weir is joining us. Marlene from Brampton. Lorraine says, hello from Hamilton. Hey, Lorraine, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate that. And Linda Bevan says first car was a 66 black Mustang. Wow. That's pretty sweet. Now, I would imagine, and if Ron Carter's joining us, because he's part of a club that does collector cars, what would that be worth today? A 66 black Mustang in good condition. Linda says Ford Pinto. Now, weren't Pintos known as the car of death? Where they could explode, like the gas tank was in the back and you would hit it or something? Oh, man. John Miller said Datsun 510 as well, all metal. Douglas says a Mazda B2 2200 4-speed. This is really cool. And Sarah J says, don't drive. So my parents' first car was a Honda. I can't remember what model. Ron Weir is joining us. Hey, how are you, man? We're just streaming live here. Barbara's joining us. Barb Murray says a 1965 white Mustang. You know, I guess Mustangs were really one of the it cars, weren't they? And I think to some extent even to this day, you know. Gabrielle says a 1978 metallic gold Fiat X19. Oh, wow, this is going back. Metallic gold. Speaking of like James Bond-like, right? Get in 007. Let's go for a drive. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Let's see here. Also, I'm going all the way up because I missed so many people. And Ez is joining us, by the way. Oh, and there's Ron. Yeah, Ron is joining us, Ron Carter. And Giselle is joining us from Burlington. Also, Tammy. And Irene is watching. Barbara, Linda. And Wendy Taylor Martin is also joining us. So we have tons of people that are clicking in here on a Friday. We really appreciate your company. So valuable your time, especially on a Friday, so it's great to join us. Now, as we continue, you can just start to see here how thick the forest is. I mean, it's really, now, it's not a terribly large park, but it is really quite beautiful, and you will see that as we continue our journey here. In fact, there's a trail system, and they have put down some of the bark chips, and which is really good because now it gives you a good path in terms of tick issues, right? When you get into brush with tall grasses, they've made a nice pathway here so you can go. And it's been said that ticks don't like gravel or bark chips if you want to do something for your backyard in terms of limiting, you know, it's like glass to them. So this is really good and very safe. Judy Jackson saying Austin Mini, a stick shift. And Kathy Murray says, my grandmother's car was a 1965 Chevy Biscayne. Man. Narita is joining us. Hello, Narita. Thank you for your company today. CE Snowflake says she's got two screens going on. She's watching me and also Wimbledon tennis. So I feel privileged that I'm on par with Shapovalova. You know, I appreciate that. And Marina says 1972 blue Chevy Nova called Bessie. Oh, maybe I should have asked that. What did you name your car? I never did. Vern, did you name your car?
Yeah.
What?
No, but you know what I had?
Yeah.
1964 maroon colored Chrysler Windsor Deluxe with push button transmission.
1964
Chrysler Windsor Deluxe.
Chrysler Windsor Deluxe with push button
Transmission.
Push button transmission. See, somebody was in the privileged circle, eh? Wow. Ricardo, first car?
1953 Ford.
1953 Ford. Did you name it?
Yeah, but I can't say that.
You can't tell us the name?
No.
Fair enough. I appreciate your honesty in pulling back in there.
It was more rust than car.
More rust than car, he says. Oh, man. Okay, so, so Marina tells me that Sarah, Jay, and I visited Korea Park last Friday, and we loved the whole place. And Marina's referring to one of our other locations, one of our other shows that we did here. So I'm glad to see that. That's awesome. And John Shepard says, my first car was a boring 88 Aries, but his dad used to have a 63 Valiant station wagon, a real rarity. Now, you know, station wagon, I remember as a kid, I was so blessed. You know, my dad would always try to take us out on a summer holiday, and we did the first Florida trip, and he bought the station wagon for the trip. And he got one of these. It was the one with the 3 decks of seats. I don't even remember what it was called, but this thing was a boat. It was the Titanic. You know, you had a little deuce-seater and then 3 and then 2. And oh, boy, but that was amazing. And it still had the power back door that would go inside. It was just an amazing adventure and a great family memory. So very cool indeed. We want to say hi to Linda, also Judy Jackson, and Ron. So many people joining us here. Again, the AKQ today, as we stream live in Milton at Livingston Park, is what was your first car, your favorite part of it? And I'm going to add in even now and a name if you remember what it was. And as we continue to walk along, we're getting towards another really cool aspect here. In fact, you know what? We should have even gone there, but we can cheat on this. It's okay. We'll just keep going here because it's easier for. But you can see there's a train track here. Do you see this? So this is the train track that goes nowhere for the most part. And you know what's really interesting, and we're going to continue on our journey here. And we're going to get on to it. But the thing is, what's really cool, it is ingrained into us since we were a kid that you never walk on the tracks. But this track, you can walk on. And if you bring the kids, they'll get a chance to do that. Now, again, I would definitely specify that you wouldn't do this in any normal situation. You guys can keep there, and I'll stay along here. We'll meet up, guys. So Ricardo and Vern are going to follow along here. But this track, you know, it's a bona fide train track, and this is also part of the history here of this region. This dates back to the 1880s. There was a prominent railway. It was the Grand Trunk Railway. And what happened here, there were 2 stops in Milton back in the day, and it was en route from Hamilton all the way to Allendale. So that was just south of Barrie and a return trip. Now, to be fair, in the end, it wasn't that viable because there weren't that many people. In fact, that railway went under, then CN bought it. We're just streaming live, guys. How are you? We're doing great. We're just telling the story here of this fabulous park. So we got viewers from around the world watching. You want to show them, Ricardo? You want to give a quick wave? How you guys doing? So you guys from Milton?
We live here, but we're not from Milton.
Okay, and do you come to this park often?
Yeah, fairly recent.
Yeah, really neat, eh? So many cool stories.
It's, yeah, do you heard about the ones of the dolls?
About the dolls?
Yeah.
Do I want to know the one about the dolls?
Probably not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So
Okay.
years ago, people climbed some of the trees, like up here, and they tied some, like, just dolls on them.
They just tied dolls around the tree?
It's kind of like Annabelle looking creepy dolls, I guess, just to scare away, like, just the kids or whatever.
Well, I don't know if we really want to go any further on that. I was talking more about, you know, the Robertson home, right? The Sprout House, about the screw, the history there, and now the railroads, and now we're talking about dolls being hung from trees. I bet you the mayor's watching. Maybe he doesn't want that there, but I appreciate you letting us know. That's all a part of the history in the community. It is a beautiful spot, without question. Thanks for chatting with us, guys. Appreciate it. If you want to watch this again on the replay, just look out for Anwar Night on Facebook. It's Anwar Night TV, and you'll see the full show there. All right? You're welcome. Okay, so back to the railway here. You know, it wasn't really that viable. They went under, and then CN Rail purchased it, and then all of a sudden, you know, steam engines came in, and just said, this isn't going to work anymore, so they collapsed it. But isn't this cool? So you've got this, and it eventually actually went right across the bridge, and it connected to another one. But the reality is, now it was decommissioned many years ago, and then for some short period of time they used it as sort of, you know, because there is an actual active CN rail down that way, and these would join, and they eventually would use this at some point, but they stopped it now. But I thought it was very cool, and the original station house that was part of the Milton stop is now sitting at Chris Hadfield Park. It's now the information kiosk. So guys, we're going to go down here the best you can, and we're going to continue our tour because we're going to get into the waterfalls. But before we do that, let's take a look at the forecast. Let everybody know what's going on. So the weather, by the way, is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble podcast. So this is really what I call sort of the payoff, guys, of why we wanted to get through here and walking through the forest. Look how beautiful this is. So now we're sitting at 16 Mile Creek, and you can see the flow of the water, so it comes around and curves through. So this path, what we walked on now, you'll have actually two bodies or flows of water, you know, sort of hugging, caressing the trail system, and you can see how it curves down around here. Now it's interesting because 16 Mile Creek, it's not the length of the creek on why it's named that, it's the distance from the creek to Lake Ontario. And, you know, I mean, this is just stunning. I sat here with my boys, my wife and I, we came here with the kids, and we just to hear the rushing water, I'll just be quiet for a second. Take this in. Isn't that beautiful? What we're trying to do here, nature, digitally, online, where we want to be the window to the world to you, but really just amazing stuff. So as I was saying, the distance from this creek all the way down to the lake, and you have to remember 16 Mile Creek, I mean, it was, you know, for indigenous people, this is where hunting and fishing happened, and then early settlers came in and they did a lot of mills, sawmills, grist mills. This was all along the body of water because this would eventually be the gateway. But it continues all along here, and then this would walk us all the way back. So it really is just quite amazing to see. And, you know, you can do fishing in and around here. We saw a few people doing it in Mill Pond. There's brook, brown, and rainbow trout in here. And during spawning runs, you can also see some salmon, Chinook salmon. But really, just a great little walk because you can park, bring the kids, they get to see something really unique, and then you can sort of make your way back and cross the bridge, and that's Rotary Park. In fact, we're going to start to walk back this way before we wrap up the show. I want to connect with you again, though, just as we get set to close up for the week. Kathy says it was a tank and it reacted like a Batmobile in the exhaust until I got it fixed, of course. She was talking about her car. And I'm just going to scroll down here. Wow, John says a 1960, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, Citroen ID 19? That sounds, I've never heard of it, but sounds cool. Okay, Bonita is watching. Yes, Dina Rogers says station wagons had seats facing out the back. My dad had one. Yes, that's right. Isn't that cool? We got Bob, Linda, Judy. Ron says a 49 Ford, called it Fool's Paradise. My dad agreed. Isn't that something? Oh, wow. Laura's saying a beautiful park. Yes, it really is. Also, Giselle says beautiful, lush greenery in that Milton Park. Yeah, in fact, Ricardo, can I get you to look this way? Vern, just watch out for 1 second. Look at the pathway. Isn't this cool? It's amazing. And again, you've got the bark chips. So you have the one flow of water here and the secondary flow here. So now it's like a channel through. So we'll walk through, guys, if that's okay. Isn't it something, though? And that's why I wanted to share it with you. So this is one of the parks that you may want to take a look at. It's Highway 401 and 25, Highway 25 South. You can look for Margaret Street is sort of the entrance into it, but really just stunning stuff. And they've done a great job, too, of making it accessible, and they've sort of, did the barriers here with some of the tree logs. Okay, just before we wrap up, I just want to see if in last minute, yes indeed, by the way, I appreciate all the thumbs up and the hearts. Show me the parade of hearts as we get set to wrap up the show. Mark O'Grady says, come to South Scarborough. It's been raining for the last couple of hours, by the way. He said a 1969 Chevy Impala coupe. Oh, that goes back. Isn't that something? Oh, Janice says, nobody does weather better than you. You are so kind. Thank you very much for that. Okay, guys, so again, yeah, please show me the hearts. Please make sure that you follow the page and share this with your friends. It's just such a unique experience, and the more people that we can have connecting with us, the better. I really do appreciate it. I love seeing all the hearts pushing up through right now. And if you're watching the show on the replay on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, please like and subscribe to the channel. Again, all helping it to grow. That's the key here. We want to grow. We want to hopefully connect with some partners, sponsors, because I think we're doing a good thing here. And it's a great story, and we're all able to be a part of it. So I want to thank you again for joining us as we continue to walk through and wrap up for another week. Again, we're streaming live at Livingston Park in Milton. I want to thank you for your company, and I want to thank you for your support. I wish you a happy and safe weekend, and look forward to seeing you here and there. See you later, guys.